All right, so we got people joining. Thank you guys for bearing with us while we make sure technology works. We got Dylan Springer and Joshua Cox on the call here from Rest Assured Online. I wanted to have them on and just introduce them to my audience because, as you guys know, Dental Sleep Profits, we don't have any official partnerships or anything like that, but we do want to highlight companies that are doing well for our clients. So that's what I wanted to do today, is have Dylan and Josh on and do a presentation for us to see how Rest Assured is able to help you get more people into treatment, to help you, help increase your bottom line. And I'm really excited. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions by the end. I know I have a couple questions. I've had doctors already emailing me questions that I was talking to Dylan about earlier. So I think it's going to be a great presentation, great information. And if you guys want, be sure to write down your questions, and there's going to be some time at the end. We're going to end promptly at 9 p.m. Eastern. If we don't, we might not take up all that time, but I want to leave some time for Q&A at the end for these guys. So Dylan, do you want to take it away and just kind of tell people about yourself just to kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Dylan Springer. I got Josh Cox down on here with us. We are Rest Assured, us and a bunch of other people. So my background is sleep in the DME world. I started about 20 years ago. Came in setting up machines in hospitals when I was much younger, and kind of worked my way up from there. And our company purchased a DME company. And so we started to sell CPAPs at the time. And that was my first run into sleep, was CPAPs and oxygen. And so as I was a young salesperson calling on different sleep labs, a lot of them said we do our own. And so what we decided to do was said, well, then we'll start a sleep lab. So we started a sleep lab, and it ended up being very successful. So we opened up a dozen more. And so over the years, we've had many labs, and, from the smallest rural hospital to a large IDTF in big cities, we ran the lab space and had a lot of people coming in doing lots of sleep studies. We did CPAPs for many years. And we also managed some physician offices, sleep offices, to kind of help out some of the physicians that we worked with. We had a good idea on kind of billing and some other things. So we really got this big holistic picture from all sides, from a DME, from a sleep lab, from a physician. So one day we were talking, and I said, this is kind of archaic, the way that sleep is done. You go to a doctor, a GP, and then they send you to a sleep doc. It takes a month to get in. And then they send you to a sleep lab, which takes 3 or 4 months to get in. You go back to that doc, gives you your report, sends you to a DME company, which takes weeks, get a CPAP, and then patients would just drop off. And then you'd come to find out that, 50, 60% of these patients took their machine and stuck it in the closet after 2 weeks and never did anything else. All right, so what we did is we said, well, there's got to be a way to make it more efficient, quicker, easier for the patient and the physicians. And so we launched Rest Assured, which is a completely at-home, online, telemedicine, home sleep test option. And so from there we did self-pay only. This was about 4 years ago. And it was, we got going and running and decided quickly, hey, we want to try insurance, which was a whole nother beast to tackle. So we pulled back on the reins and built out our platform to take all insurances as well. Launched it in 2 states, and then 13, and then quickly we were in all 50 states. And so now where we are now is we have a process where patients in any state, anywhere in the U.S., can come in and get their testing done. And so it's been a really fun run. It's been really challenging. Any type of startup is exciting and hard and fun and scary all at the same time, but it's going really well. And we got Josh and a few other salespeople that we work with, and then a large team in the office that deals with patients day in, day out.
Okay. And Josh, where are you based out of? And what's your role, just so everybody knows?
So first of all, great to meet all you guys. So I joined the company about just under 2 years ago, and I was kind of cherry picking once Dylan really started to figure out, how this business should run. I jumped in and we were already in network with insurance in 50 states and all that stuff. So accidentally picked the right time to jump on the team. But I live in Oklahoma City, which is where we're based out of, and I kind of traveled to the surrounding states to like Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and then obviously Oklahoma. And then also as we've kind of expanded, I've grown into a kind of partial inside sales role. So like after this meeting, if you all want to hear more information, more details about what we do, I'll be your guy to kind of set something up and take it from there. But I tell people all the time that I just wake up feeling lucky to have got this opportunity to work for this company, because as you'll find out, like the way that Dylan and everyone else built this company, it makes my job as a salesperson super easy, because by the time that I kind of explain what our testing and diagnosis process looks like, it's really good. So I'm excited for you all to hear and ask some questions there at the end too.
Yeah, yeah, I know there's a lot of pain points within sleep testing and passing the patient back and forth between providers like you were just describing, Dylan. So I'm excited to kind of see your guys' process, see your presentation. And the thing that really intrigued me, after, we have some clients that have spoke very highly of your guys' process. And when Joshua reached out to me, I was like, you know what? We should put these guys through the ringer and see what they're doing and see if they're really providing value. And you guys are. And what intrigued me is when you guys mentioned, I was kind of grilling you guys about, well, how do you actually help increase the bottom line for our doctors? And timeline has a lot to do with that. If you can shorten, in my world, if you can shorten a sales process and get people in the doctor's world, get people into treatment quicker, that helps your bottom line. They're less likely to fall off, or like Dylan spoke about, fall through the cracks at some point in that handoff process. So that's what I was most intrigued to hear about on this presentation. So Dylan or Josh, whoever's presenting, I will let you guys take it away. I'll sit back. I might toss in some questions in the middle, but we'll open it up to everyone there at the end of your presentation. That's okay. Oh, you're muted, Dylan.
That's great. Yep. Thank you. Ask all the questions you want.
Cool.
I don't like doing presentations where I don't get any questions. So that's great. Stop me at any time.
It'll be interactive. It'll be interactive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm pulling this up. I'll tell you, when we launched this too, I failed to mention that at first we were just CPAP, and we launched it because that was my background was DME, and ran in that vein. And so when COVID hit, and then it kind of made us more focused on what we were doing online, but it also, you had the Philips recall.
Yeah.
So what that ended up doing is really forcing us to go, okay, let's look at the bigger picture. And that's where we jumped into dental. And so that was probably about 3 years ago. We really started tapping in the dental world, and have learned an insane amount in 3 years. And I mean, oral appliance is such a fantastic therapy. And I think that, we're seeing a shift now. When I first started this, 5 to 7% was the national average of patients with a positive sleep apnea test that got a prescription for oral appliance.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's not grown much, but it's 7 to 10%. And that's right. But I suspect over the next couple, like even 1 to 2 years, there'll be a big shift in that. Just because the awareness, where the market's at, what the insurances are doing, coverage determinations, all that are changing quicker than I had expected. So I'll jump in here. I'm going to skip through a lot of these because I don't want to bore anybody. We have a website online. So a lot of patients we find just come on the website. looking
Sorry,
for.
Dylan, it's just showing us our standard background here on the meeting.
Okay.
Do you have your presentation on another screen? There we go. Now we're seeing it.
Is that working?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, well, let me try something here. I'm going to shift to, let me share this screen. There's two screens. One's presentation. How about, let's see if this one works. Okay, there we go. So on our website, patients come on, some just search home sleep test, some searching CPAP, oral appliance, whatever it is, they land on here and they start the process. Most of our patients come in either through a QR code in the clinic or a link that is from the portal, and we'll show you guys that here shortly. So patient pops in, they fill out a quick questionnaire for us, and then they move forward right here. Okay, so once they get on here, they have the option to choose self-pay or insurance. So the questionnaire, they get a score, they choose self-pay or insurance. For insurance, they put in their insurance information. We pre-authorize it and check their benefits, and we let them know what their out-of-pocket will be. So most of them find out within a couple hours what their out-of-pocket will be.
Okay.
There's a very few random insurances that go, hey, it's going to take you 24 hours to get your information back. But for the vast majority and all the big payers, we have it right back to them and say, this is what your out-of-pocket is, and they have a decision to move forward. If their copay and deductible is high and they haven't met anything, they still have the option to do self-pay, which self-pay is they see a specialist for telemedicine, $40, and then it's $210 for the home sleep test and a follow-up visit. So you get 2 visits and a home sleep test, total of $250.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dylan, do you guys have, like, I know people have become, with the introduction of social media, they've become more impatient. I mean, a couple hours for a verification of benefits, I mean,
Yep.
that's crazy fast. Do you guys see people drop off, like even getting a VOB that quickly?
No. Most of them, our follow through rate is really good. What we do see is we see a small percentage that will fall off, but then come back weeks later. And so from what we've seen is people will go, oh, I'm going to wait, and then they run it and try to get it through another avenue, and they see that, hey, verification takes a lot longer any other avenue, and it's quite a bit more expensive if you go another route. So we see a lot coming back on that small percentage on the backside.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we are quick, and they get communicated with. So it's not like they put their information in and don't hear anything. It's, hey, we're working on this. You'll hear back in a couple hours. We'll be right back with you. And so real simple. Once they move forward, whether self-pay or insurance, they choose an appointment time. So they have a calendar pop up. They choose what day they want. They choose a time that they want, and they click the time, and it books their appointment. So when they schedule their appointment, they instantly receive a text and email with their appointment link. They also get this an hour before and 15 minutes before their actual telemedicine visit. And so our no-show rate is less than 3%. We communicate very well with the patients, make it very easy for them to click the button and be in. In the visit, they see the provider on their phone, and our provider talks with them, fills out some notes, orders sleep study prescription by pushing a button, and it ships within with 1 business day. So 24 hours, it ships out. Once it leaves the warehouse, the patient gets text and email. They get tracking information, exactly where the device is, when it will be on their doorstep, and they get instructions on how to use their device.
Going back to your guys' the telemedicine visit, is that web-based or software-based?
Ours is software-based.
Okay. And do you guys find that I'm thinking of the older crowd, getting on a video call. Do you guys have ways to help them be able to navigate that new world?
Yep. Yeah. The best thing is that it is just the click of a link. So most of them are pretty handy enough to click on their text or their email. Anyone that does have issue, they get a call. So they get a call and walk through the process. If they cannot figure out how to get the video, then we'll do a phone call visit with them.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Real simple.
And Todd,
Mhm.
we're obviously based out of Oklahoma, so we work with plenty of rural clinics kind of scattered around Oklahoma. So when Dylan was kind of building this company, he needed to make sure that there was kind of an order of operations for those patients who are tech savvy, totally fine, all the way down to like patients that don't even have Wi-Fi or something like that. So
Yeah.
if it comes to that, we kind of go down that list of ways that we can help all the way down to, if necessary, that doctor's visit can just be over the phone.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. Okay. So patient gets instructions on how to use the device. Right now, the majority of our devices are Whisper. It's a great test. I don't know if everyone's familiar with it, and feel free at the end to ask any questions that you guys have. This device gives us a lot of information. It's accurate. We've tried tons of different devices. This one's been fantastic. It's 2 patches that go on the abdomen, and then a pulse ox watch that they wear, the Check Me watch. And the patient takes it. It gives us 3% and 4% on the same study. It tells us centrals, position, real sleep time. And one great thing about them is, apart from almost all other HSTs, is they'll tell us hypoxic burden, which is a big deal. To be able to see that, we know that AHI is not the best indicator for severity of the sleep problems, and we're learning that more and more as we move
I've
forward.
been hearing that debate more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we'll look at here, and we have patients that have a AHI of 3.2, but their hypoxic burden is pretty high and they're not doing well, not feeling well. When you have the opposite, you have a patient with AHI of 20 and hypoxic burden that's really low, and they're like, I'm doing fine. So it's great. It's a great thing to have on there. We do 2 nights. We can do many nights, but we find that 2 nights is great to give us an idea. We had a patient, we were talking this last week, of a patient that came on the first night they had their test. Their HI was 5.2, and their O2s dropped down to about 87. Whenever they did it the next night, and they did it 2 consecutive nights, same sleep time, their HI was 22, and they were desatting down to 78.
Whoa.
So this was on 2 different nights that you're looking at. So the variability in sleep can be big. Sometimes it's not that big in patients, but it can be big. So it's great to be able to grab 2 nights and really see what's going on.
Yeah, I do like that you can check, you're measuring positional data as well, because obviously that's going to affect how people sleep. So
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Study comes out real easy to read. Again, it has everything you need: body position, hypoxic burden, snoring information, and then all your key sleep metrics are on here.
And does this get uploaded directly to the portal that the dentist has for RestAssured? Okay.
Yep. So the patient gets the test, they take it. As soon as they finish the study, it uploads in our cloud, and our physicians read it within 24 hours. So it's read, most of them are read within a few hours the next day. When we're really busy, 24-hour turnaround. So it's read, and as soon as our providers read the study and sign it, the patient instantly gets a text and an email to do their follow-up visit. And so again, they choose a quick time and day that they want to do their visit. They book it. They get the link an hour before, 15 minutes before their follow-up, and they hop on their follow-up. And so on the follow-up, our providers talk with them, and then they have our easy buttons up here. And so they come on here. This was a patient that had mild OSA, HI 10.9, RDI 12.2, and she didn't think she would tolerate CPAP and grinds her teeth at night. So they just hit oral appliance, that little button right there, and the oral appliance prescription LMN is filled out.
Oh, so the provider does this?
Yeah. So our provider talks with them, pushes the button, and it's done. As soon as it's done, the patient gets a text and email, and so whatever therapy they got will be on here. So, your RestAssured provider created an oral appliance for you. It has been sent to so-and-so clinic, and they'll reach out to you within 24 to 48 hours. So the patient's being well talked through this whole time. Hey, we're going to communicate with you. We're going to talk you through. This is what's going to happen. If they have severe or high mixed apnea, then what we'll do is we can set them up on CPAP if needed. And so every patient that has that option, they get a CPAP and they do compliance visit 60 to 90 days. And if they fail that CPAP, then we have that visit for 60, 90 days. And there's another way that we're not losing that patient. Like we talked earlier, when patients get it, they have a CPAP for 2 weeks, stick it in the closet, and they never talk to anyone again. Well, we're working with them, coaching them on how to use that CPAP if they're not compliant. In that follow-up visit and the compliance visit, we have that option to go, hey, you failed the CPAP. Let's get you on something. Let's get you over to oral appliance.
And is that also documented within the portal after
Yep.
60 to 90 days and they fail CPAP?
Yep.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great.
So really easy. This is an actual patient on here, and this patient signed up July 25th. So they booked their visit for the 29th. They had their visit the 29th. The home sleep test actually shipped out that evening. Patient received it on the 1st. They took it on the night of the 2nd, and then they had their follow-up visit, and oral appliance created their prescription created on the 3rd. So that patient was 8 days.
Okay.
Patients that are working through it on average, we see 12 to 14 days is what it is. Our system is constantly telling them, hey, here's the next step, click here. So if they wait 24 hours to do something, they get a notification from us. Hey, we noticed you haven't scheduled your follow-up visit. Go ahead and schedule that here. Hey, you haven't taken your home sleep test. It's just sitting in your house. Go ahead and take that. So we're constantly talking with them and working them through that. Again, the one big thing we thought was really important was that post-care. So if they're getting any type of therapy, we have coaches that will be checking in on them. We do those compliance visits with all patients, regardless of therapy they get, make sure things are going well. We have the option of the 6-month follow-up visits, and we have the option for remote patient monitoring. So we have a team that can do the RPM with them with CPAP or oral appliance, whatever it is, Inspire device.
And is that remote patient monitoring, let's call it 12-month follow-up down the line? Is that with the same provider that prescribed the oral appliance?
Yep.
Okay, good. Because I've been hearing things about Toxin Congress, all this stuff about, basically a lot of insurances are just going the way of Medicare as like the standard of care. And there's talk about, the prescriber has to be the one that follows the patient. Obviously, the dentist is a part of that process, but the prescriber has to follow the patient. So that's really good. That's good.
Yep. Yeah, and we started that early on. When we first started, we had a route that went straight to CPAP and then a follow-up visit. But we started having so many patients that were saying, hey, insurance is denying my oral appliance because I don't have a visit note previous to the HST for the doc that prescribed my home sleep test, So we started going, okay, then we'll have everyone do a visit first. And so they see that provider. And when you come in our system, you see that provider every time. So if you see, Dr. Josh in your first visit and you take your home sleep test, and the follow-up visit, you're going to see Dr. Josh. And then on your compliance visit in 3 months, you'll see Dr. Josh. In 6 months, you'll see Dr. Josh. You always stay with the same provider. Now, there are options if a provider is booked a few days and you go, you know what, I'll see someone else to speed it up. That option's there. Or if we have, someone that retires, and then you move on to someone else. But for the most part, you're seeing the same person. They're familiar with you. And we got great providers that, a lot of the patients really end up connecting with and liking. So it's nice.
Yeah. And I really like that for the, I'm learning about this process myself right now. I like that, especially for, we did a national audit of all of the patients that we generate for our clients, and about 25 to 27% were Medicare. And that's a big chunk. And that generation really highly values relationship and consistency. So having that same provider every time, I used to take my grandma to the doctor every single week. She would get pissed off every time they would switch a provider. If she's seeing a new doctor or a new nurse practitioner, she'd shake her head and she'd just be so disappointed. So
yep.
Great that you guys have that consistency.
It was our Medicare patients that we found that same thing. And so even our staff, and it's not perfect every time, but for the most part, even our staff will stay with that same patient. So if you're getting a call on your insurance to go over your benefits, it's usually that same staff member that's going to call you to say, hey, did you have a question about this? Or, hey, we saw that it's been 3 days, you haven't taken your home sleep test. This
Yeah.
is
That
Lindsay.
relational aspect goes a long way for actually
Yeah.
getting people to move forward. It's, yeah.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on our company on being automated and, you know, AI components and trying to have everything go smoothly through the process. But we've kept that human touch on the patient side because we think that to be able to communicate with the patient, do that when needed with a real person.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll even compare it to a certain point, like the sleep doc who's seeing each of these patients. We essentially kind of they become their sleep doctor for as long as they have sleep apnea and are wearing treatment, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll jump into the clinic side. So we've seen the route that the patients take through the process. Now, on the behind the scenes, what the benefit the clinics have will be shown here. So one is you do get an option to have these rack cards made. And so it has a QR code that's specific to whatever clinic we're working with. And then you can put your clinic logo up here on top. And we have a marketing designer that makes them all up and just sends you the file, print them off. It's great. So any patient that scans this QR code with your QR code in the office, they come into our system and it's logged as your patient. And so we know exactly where they're coming from, time stamped, who it is, all that fun stuff.
Okay.
The other way that patients come in for most clinics is when a clinic logs into their portal, they have this add patient request button. And when they push that, they can just enter the patient's first name, last name, email, cell phone, date of birth, and then create a patient. And when they create that patient, the patient will instantly get a text and an email with a link. And so it'll have your clinic name and say, so-and-so has requested that you sign up for RestAssured. So then the patient just has to click that, and then they go through that process we just watched.
Okay.
So real simple. Every patient request that's out there, you have visibility to see that it's done and how many days since you sent that patient. You know that they get notifications at 24 hours, at 48 hours after that, and 48 hours after that, and then a phone call. So within the first week, we text and email them and call them, and they get 5 touches if they haven't moved forward.
Okay. After those five touches, does that patient or does the dental sleep provider get notified that you've been unable to contact the patient?
Yeah, they can get notifications. Most of them, they'll see on here that once this gets past 5 days, we actually do call another time. So it's after 7 days, they'll know if they don't move to a patient status that they never converted. So we can do a notification to the office. Most of them will just look on here and know that after 7 days, those are the ones that didn't move forward.
What would you say is the best way, at least from your guys' experience working with your clients, what's the best way for dentists or sleep coordinators, whoever's talking to the patient, to be able to prep them for the communication that you guys have or are going to have in that process? Is there something that works best? Is it just a heads up, like, hey, rest assured is going to be calling and texting, expect a phone call from this area code or a text message from this area code? Is that kind of how simple it is?
Yep. Most groups will tell them you're going to get a text from this, and it says on the text that the patients get rest assured. And we have most offices tell the patient they'll get this phone number calling them.
Okay.
So that does increase. The more that the office says, hey, this is what's going to happen, obviously the better conversion we have from patient to actually someone that's going through it. So yeah, they do a pretty good job, the offices that are working with us, of saying this is what happens. And that rack card also has, this is the next steps that are going to happen. So that rack is great just to hand it to the patient and say, be ready.
I just saw Ron Burgundy.
I'll be honest. Yeah. What we've seen work best in terms of keeping that conversion rate of patients referred to who actually sign up and get tested high is a lot of clinics will send that patient request in the portal, and then it is 5 seconds later when that patient gets that text and email from us saying you've been referred for a sleep study. So some clinics will even sit there with the patient for 5 minutes to help them like fill out that survey, put in their insurance info, to submit for the pre-authorization, so that at that point, the next time the patient hears from us, it's just to go over insurance benefits and schedule that first doctor's appointment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's what a couple of the offices we work with have been doing with RestAssured is they'll just sit with the patient and scan the QR code and go through the process with them. So
yeah, you can be as hands-on as you want to be to get them through it. Once the patients get that request and they sign up, they pop on the clinic's patient page. And so you'll see every patient and where they are in the process. So you have a status bar. You see if they've completed their first visit, if they've completed their home sleep test, if they've scheduled their follow-up or completed it all the way to therapy. And you have a tracker over here on how many days. So you're able to watch every patient and go, okay, this patient's lagging behind. RestAssured's call them 3 times. Hey, our office will give them a call too. And so that way it kind of gives you a good picture in real time what's happening. When you click on the patients that are completed, when they're a green tab, you know that therapy's been ordered. You hop in here and every document you need is right there. So you have their first visit notes, their home sleep test results, their follow-up visit notes, oral appliance prescription and LMN. Anything that you're going to need is all right here that you can click a button and download.
okay,
And then,
okay, great.
Yeah, so then you have everything you need for billing. In there will go if we do remote patient monitoring, those charts pop up in here. When we do the compliance visit, that pops up in here. If any of the therapies ordered, that pops up in here. So you have a good picture of what's happening with each patient in your clinic. We looked at
And
that.
do your guys' clients find that documentation, are they sharing that with the other MDs or physicians that patient sees, like their GP or, their pulmonologist, if they've seen one in the past? Are you guys sharing that information with them?
Yes. So if there's certain instances where, say, I'm a dental clinic and I have a family practice group that I work with, and say we're both on the portal. So that family practice group is sending patients to RestAssured. All the patients that want oral appliance, if that family practice group says we want them to go to this dental clinic, and the patient says, yep, that's great, then we send those orders to the dental clinic and they have access to everything from that patient. Both will have access to it.
Okay. So this is, potentially this could be a selling point when communicating with physicians as a dentist or as a dental team. Basically like a home sleep testing partner is we make it super easy for your patients to get tested, and if they qualify for oral appliance therapy, if you want to use OAT as a first line of defense, for mild to moderate, that'd be a great discussion to have, or a great tool to kind of have in your back pocket when talking to a physician.
Yep. Yeah. And when you have a much greater, let's see, conversion rate from those patients over to oral appliance when they're in something like RestAssured that is very familiar with oral appliance and knows what's going on. Where that family practice group that's sending to my clinic, say my clinic is a dentist, say they send me two patients a month. And I'm like, well, that's great. Well, they might be sending to a sleep lab that 2 patients a month might be 5% of their sleep tests. You know what I mean? So if you go to that family practice and say, hey, why don't you use RestAssured? Then they're sending through RestAssured, someone who's familiar with oral appliance. And then the number of patients that are actually getting oral appliance prescription goes up by quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So it's helpful to get those groups in somewhere. Our hospital system down the street from Josh, we've talked to them, and they have a large sleep lab. They do a lot of patients, and their provider has never ordered an oral appliance. So, and that's what you see. And I'm not dogging it. 4 years ago, I was in the same place where we were going oral appliance. What's that? So we've come
a boil and bite thing.
Yeah. So now it's far different. So some of those referral sources, if they'll utilize RestAssured, you don't have to call and get documents or anything. It's all instant from clinic to clinic inside our portal. And we always see an increase on patients on their options on therapy.
Okay. So, that's great.
Yep. So
I'll make an important Oh,
go ahead.
Dylan, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. I wanted to make an important disclaimer. When we kind of bring on new sleep MDs to read studies and see patients, we make sure that they are properly educated on oral appliance therapy. We would not bring on a sleep doc who was 100% CPAP by any means, because we know how effective oral appliance is. So because of that, we're not going to partner with a sleep doc that prescribes just CPAP, isn't aware of, how quality oral appliance and effective it all is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's
but that
fair.
goes both ways. I mean, if it's a which you don't see, but if it was a doctor that said, I will only order oral appliance, you'd say, well, we don't, not every therapy is perfect for every patient.
Exactly.
So we want our providers to understand all the therapies, who's the right patients, and have that option. And we all know the numbers. I mean, compliance on CPAPs is after the first year is dismal. So, the more and more of that data is coming out, oral appliance is, more of a common order, I think, that we'll see more and more across the US.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Let's see. You have, is there any more, Dylan? I see RestAssured Direct. I have not heard of that, so I'm interested.
Direct is a option on, it's for the dental offices. We usually use it for titrations. But some dental offices that have a lot of cash pay patients that go, you know what? We don't need the visits or the sleep doc. We just need an HST quickly. They can come into RestAssured Direct, enter the patient in, home sleep test, ship straight to the patient. They take it, it pops back into RestAssured Direct. You have access to all their records and their orders for therapy right there. So it's just a more direct version minus the visits. But so for titrations, we utilize this for those patients. Once they get their device, we'll throw the patient in direct. They get the HST. And so what we can do on the titration too, we didn't talk about is we can do a longitudinal study. So the first 30 days in some patients we'll do 5 nights of a study. So they get oral appliance. Every adjustment you make, you have them do a study that night. And we take that data and we can graph it by AHI, RDI, hypoxic burden, O2, and then you adjust it and we do another study and we graph that over that data. And then so you have this longitudinal study of 5 nights showing where their settings are and what it's doing. So it's pretty neat, and it's great to show the patient, really walk them through exactly what's happening.
Yeah. And are you guys using the Whisper device for titration, or do you guys use something else? I don't know battery life on the Whisper.
Yeah, we'll use Whisper for titration.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Great.
So lots of fun stuff. I mean, we are continuing to add more fun things that our system can do. And we'll continue. So we got some fun things down the road.
Cool. Well, I got a couple questions from some people here. It says, do you plan to add a section in the provider where providers can make notes to RestAssured? For example, if we call a patient, get an update why they haven't took the sleep test and they tell us they're on vacation currently, we have to send an email instead of being able to make a quick note in the portal for RestAssured team to stay in the know. Yeah,
so that is something that we're working on, putting the notes. So we do have that in there for our team. So lots of times the dental offices can go down to tasks and they can see where we've put in there, hey, patients on vacation won't take the HST for 7 days. And so our team puts that in there and it's seen. But we are working on an avenue to where those providers can then put a note back into us.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Another question said, is there a subscription fee to be a dental provider in coordination with RestAssured?
There is a fee. So on ours, you come in, there's a monthly fee, and it's for all the dental sleep profit group. We did do a discount. It's 50% off for the first 3 months. So Josh will be able to walk you through any of those if you have any questions on calls.
I had no idea you guys were going to do that, so that's great. If you guys,
that's right. Yeah.
So like I said, we don't.
No, we've never done this before. So it's for Todd is the first one.
Well, I appreciate you
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, I didn't know you guys were going to do that. Yeah, we don't profit from Rest Assured. I just want people to have access to good programs to get more people into treatment, save more lives. So the fact that you guys are willing to knock 50% off for the first 3 months, you know, that goes a long way for a lot of people. So I appreciate that.
Yep. And our fee is very, very low. I mean, it's almost nothing. So really simple. And what it really is there for is our staff spends a considerable amount of time working with the patients on phone calls, walking them through the process. So you're getting a whole lot more than $99 worth of time.
Yeah. Well, I have a question of my own. Obviously there's other sleep testing companies out there. What would you guys say separates you from those other companies that, you know, would say they do the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of good companies out there, really solid competition. I've met a few of the other owners and workers and great people. I think what we see and what sets us apart, one is that the connection with the patient, like we talked about. So we constantly get information sent to us of, hey, these patients just couldn't stop talking about your staff or your providers, and they've gotten to know them and that kind of stuff. So that's been great. The speed that we can get through is something that sets us apart. I mean, being able to get a patient with a visit, a home sleep test, follow-up visit, all, fast patients do in 6 days. That's somewhat unheard of. Our price is very low. I think too that the devices that we've always used set us apart where, Wesper and then WatchPat One's the other device that we use some and have used a lot in the past. Those two devices are fantastic. They're great devices and there's more out there. But we like to pick those to be able to do multiple nights and get the right reading. So on some other companies might use ones that don't give you position, don't give you a great central reading or central reading at all. So we've always thought that was very important. If you're getting a test where there's nothing to log centrals, then it's hard to write the right therapy, if you don't know if those apneas, what's going on.
If you don't have the right data, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But too, our system, I don't know of anyone else that has a sleep environment that is telemedicine, home sleep test, therapy and multiple different routes of therapy, RPM, and continued walking through with the patient in 60 days, 6 months, a year, that kind of.
I think that's the really big one. Sticking with the patient, the same people are communicating with the same patients, building relationships. I mean, that's how I built Dental Sleep Profits, is through relationships. And that's a big part of our success as well. So the fact that you guys do that, the patients are going to appreciate it. And obviously providers are going to appreciate it because their patients are happy, and quality of care, that's going to become under more and more scrutiny, is quality of care in the years to come. So yeah, you guys are on the right track.
One other, I will mention one other big thing too is we work a lot on the medical side of things. So we do a lot with cardiology, ENT, family practice, all the above. And so a lot of those patients come in and they need an oral appliance. And so those patients that say, I don't know where to go, where should I go? Then we have this network of dental groups that we work with that we know, and we know what best suits that patient. And so we can say, hey, over here, this one takes your insurance. This one's only 20 minutes from you. Let's shoot you over here.
There you go.
So then we have a lot of these patients coming in that need oral appliance and a place to go.
Yeah. Well, since you guys have a lot of relationships in the medical realm, what would you say are some trends that you're seeing, but with collaboration between medical and dental? are you seeing those relationships improve where physicians are more open to the idea of oral appliance therapy? What are kind of the trends you're seeing in dental and medical relationships?
Yeah, yeah, much more open to oral appliance that we've seen in the probably about the last year and a half. Uh, so there have been a lot of groups that send to us again that say, we've never ordered oral appliance. So I had one physician when he first started working with us sent over and he said, I've never ordered an oral appliance. And I said, well, this patient wants one. Let me tell you about it. Shoot it over to this dental group that works with us. They're fantastic. He did it. The first one he did, they were great. He orders, a handful a month now and loves them. He has one himself, actually. So, I mean, the great thing is as providers come in and see this, they're seeing notes too in here of, hey, this patient got an oral appliance. They had, a moderate OSA and we're watching on the remote patient monitoring that's being uploaded. They're doing fantastic on it.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're actually seeing this progress in real time and have actual data that's in the system that they see supporting it. So that has really helped a lot of physician groups go, okay, I'm a believer. Let's have this option.
Do you think that shift, because I'm thinking about like UHC basically saying that a patient has to fail oral appliance therapy as well before they'll prescribe something like Inspire. Do you think the open-mindedness toward oral appliance therapy on the medical side is because of things like that, or do you think it's because of increased patient awareness or a combination of the two?
I think there has been an increase in awareness. I think that the oral appliance device companies have done a good job. I think that there's been, more feet on the street, more reps out there talking, a lot more awareness, some studies that have been done showing efficacy, showing compliance. So that's helped a lot. The payers noticing them and the payers starting to say, yeah, we'll cover this. So a lot of payers now, they'll cover the oral appliance and then they'll cover a titration study and they support it. The UHC thing's funny. They actually just took that off to where you no longer have to fail oral appliance to get Inspire. So that was short-lived that they had on.
Wow. It feels like that was just super recent news.
Yep. I think it was less than a year.
Flip-flopping. I hate it.
Insurance companies are crazy.
They probably realize it's like, oh, we can make more money by reversing this decision.
Yeah. And that's one thing that's great with, we stay up to date and that's our job is to know what insurance companies require. And that's from the visit to the home sleep test to the therapy. So we're always saying, okay, this is what we have to have documented. This is the step that has to happen first. So our system always makes sure that that's happening where, I know a lot of dental offices that send out and they get a patient back and they go, well, they didn't document the right stuff in the visit before the home sleep test. So now they're going to deny oral appliance. And so you have all these funny rules that we keep up with and are keeping track of. The other thing is that seeing the patient in real time is big because once that, patient's gone, you want to know what's happening because we all know dental groups that send to a sleep doc and they never see a patient back to them. They run into them 6 months later and the patient says, well, I'm on CPAP.
Yep.
Or something like that, or I never heard from the guy. So being able to keep that connection is a big, big plus.
Yeah. Well, what is I know Josh, you mentioned that the best way if anybody wants to learn more is to reach out to you. Do you want to share your email address or how people get in touch with it, or maybe just type in your contact info into the chat and just make sure it goes to everyone?
I can totally do that. I'll send that, right? I'll send my email and cell number and all of that. And reach out whichever way's easiest for you, and we can set up kind of a phone call or a call like this, whatever, so that I can answer any questions, maybe even go into a little more detail on whatever you need, and just see if we're a good fit for your practice.
Yeah. Well, this will be up on YouTube, so it'll be evergreen. So you better be cautious about saying you'll share your cell phone number.
Yeah, maybe not cell number. Yep.
Maybe just email.
Yeah, email's great.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I think your platform looks very intuitive, both for the patient and the providers. And I think that's a reason more of our, like you said, Dylan, there's lots of great home sleep testing companies out there, but I wanted to have you guys on because more of our clients were mentioning RestAssured and that they were having success. So I appreciate your guys' time, sharing your platform and what you guys can do to help our clients and help our audience and help the industry at large. So thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having us, Todd. It was great.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah. Thank you, Todd.
I'll check in with you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
All right,
Take care.
sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye. Y'all.
Awesome. Have a great night.
You too.